Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Another episode in our WCW What If series in TEW 2020. It is week 1, the first week of September 1996. That means we have officially hit a full year. Well, a little over a full year technically at this point. As this series started 1 year ago this week. 1 year ago today technically. Not this specific date, but that it was the first Monday in September that this series started. So I definitely appreciate all the support you guys have had over the year for this series, for everything else, and so on. But enough of the sappy stuff. We got that out of the way the last week with the recap episode. It is time to start off year 2 in our WCW series. And what better way to start things off than with the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion Sting opening up a Nitro in front of 15,982 people at the Core State Spectrum. Tonight's Nitro, by the way, 2.5 hours long, longer than the usual 2-hour show. Felt like it was a special anniversary thing, so we'd add an extra half an hour on there. So that's a thing here tonight. But anyway, Sting opens up Nitro, talking about the 1-year anniversary of Nitro, kind of reflecting on the past 12 months, how he was the WCW World Heavyweight Champion for a while, how he's had a lot of fantastic matches here in the company, and so forth. And then he talks about his upcoming match with Lex Luger at Fall Brawl. He says many things about it, but he does kind of say that he didn't expect it to come to this. He never expected to have Sting versus Lex Luger the way it is. He always wanted to face Luger in the ring, but he didn't expect it to be like this. But if this is what Luger wants, then this is what he's going to get. So kind of hyping up the matchup for Fall Brawl, which of course was announced 2 weeks ago on Nitro, or technically last week on Nitro. 2 weeks ago episode-wise, but 1 week ago on Nitro, where it was announced that it will be Sting versus Lex Luger at Fall Brawl. Kind of hyping up the fact that these two men are going to be going at it, former friends, current foes, and they'll be going at it at Fall Brawl. You'll notice that we have a few different. We have some of the same stories going, but you might notice storyline-wise that it's going to look a little bit different tonight. It's because now that we've bumped up to big size, again, congrats to us on this, we now have to have 5 active storylines with at least 65 or 70 heat, I think it is. And so I was like, well, I'm going to start breaking up a few current storylines and separate them into their own individual storylines, because some stuff has, like, some things I had, like, grouped into one giant storyline where there was, like, 8 to 10 people involved that didn't need to have 8 to 10 people involved, just because they were kind of interacting with each other. So I reorganized the storylines a little bit, and hopefully that'll work out well for us. But this storyline, getting off to a really hot start with a 100 rated segment. The commentators kind of go over tonight's show, including some not full-on match announcements, but they do announce that the World's Heavyweight Champion, Bam Bam Bigelow, will be in action tonight, as will Lex Luger, as will and there will also be a tag team matchup here tonight to determine the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles at Fall Brawl. So a few big matches, but they don't actually announce who's in the match, the tag team match. Kind of letting everybody be surprised by everything. After this, we go backstage in a segment that does not do well. I need to probably start putting this storyline more on Saturday night, because it's just not doing too well on Nitro. But essentially, the American Male storyline is continuing. Of course, for those who don't remember, American Males have not won a matchup in all of 1996. And Marcus Bagwell has been kind of disappointed by that recently. In fact, he hasn't even won a match himself in months at this point. And Scotty Riggs is trying to talk to him, trying to get something from him, but Bagwell still isn't responding. And Mariko Yoshida, the manager of the American Males, is convincing Riggs that there's nothing really wrong before Scotty Riggs leaves. Only gets 36. Kind of what it is, honestly. After that, Chris Jericho comes out to the ring, talking about being the television champion. talking about how there is no better fitting way than to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Nitro with your television champion, Chris Jericho, and how Nitro and WCW in general is better off with him as the champion. He talks about the match at Fall Brawl, which does officially get revealed here tonight, or here with this segment, that it is going to be Alex Wright versus Chris Jericho at Fall Brawl. It is going to be Alex Wright versus Chris Jericho at Fall Brawl, but it's not confirmed that it's for the television championship. That's because here tonight, Chris Jericho is defending the championship against Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko comes out to the ring as it is going to be Chris Jericho versus Dean Malenko here tonight for the television championship. And obviously, if Dean wins, then he's the champion, and that match at Fall Brawl isn't for the title. But if Jericho wins, then more than likely that match is for the title. The match between these two is an 81 rating. My God. My God, indeed. As an about-the-head good wrestling and decent reaction from the crowd, Chris Jericho defeats Dean Malenko 9-23 by submission with a line tamer, making offense number 3 of the television championship. 81 rating. Obviously, these two men should be putting on great performances, but I still was expecting at least like mid to lower 70s from these two. Like, I was expecting this match to get, about a 73, 74. That's kind of what I was expecting from this. So for them to get an 81 is huge. For Jericho getting a 72 is huge, because I'm pretty sure that's the highest in-ring performance he's had. And Dean Malenko, it's about kind of a little bit better than what Dean Malenko usually does, but nevertheless, great performance from Dean Malenko. So already, the move to big size working wonders for us in the ring at this point. As Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko tear down the house. Not fully, but have a really good performance to open up Nitro in 9 minutes, 23 seconds. But Jericho does get the victory with a line tamer. Malenko does end up tapping out, which, obviously we don't see too often, so that's kind of a big deal. But Jericho is able to retain the television championship. After the match, Storm and Jericho, Storm gets in the ring, and Jericho and Storm go to attack Dean Malenko, but Alex Wright gets in the ring, and all 4 men fight with each other for a little bit before officials come out to break things up. It does get announced. I'll announce it when I get to that point, but this only got a 59 because these 4 men are not great at selling. Well, to be fair, a couple of them are pretty good at selling, and a couple of them are just kind of there. So after that, we go backstage to a Ric Flair promo. Gets a 100 rating, even with Diamond Dallas Page not doing well with the improvisation. Ric Flair and Diamond Dallas Page are backstage with each other, with Page talking about how he got the job done last week, how he was able to get the victory in that big 6-man tag match. Flair says that it's another step in the right direction. It's another step towards becoming a full-fledged horseman. Tonight's mission for Page is for him to keep an eye out for anyone who could get involved in the main event he has against Rick Martel, which, of course, this is the first time that gets announced. It is going to be Ric Flair versus Rick Martel in the main event of Nitro tonight. Flair then kind of talks about Martel, talks about how he's familiar with Rick Martel, but he's familiar with the AWA version of Rick Martel. He's not super familiar with what happened after the AWA because Rick Martel wasn't relevant after the AWA. And the AWA was a decade ago. So obviously that means that Rick Martel is not relevant. The only reason he attacked Martel last week on Nitro is because he had a receipt coming to him for what happened on Saturday night, the Saturday before. He says that tonight he's going to make Rick Martel's whole goddamn career by having him step into the ring in the main event of Nitro with the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And then he's going to make him tap out to the figure 4. Woo! And then walks off. So, pretty strong words there from Ric Flair. Calling out Rick Martel there. 100 rating here as it's a great segment, honestly. And we get the main event of Rick Martel taking on Ric Flair one-on-one. Now, you may wonder, especially as you see the rest of the matches tonight, why I put that in the main event. I have reasons for it. After that, we get the returning Meng, the former television champion, former just destructive force here at WCW, comes back and absolutely squashes RVD, Rob Van Dam, that is, in 558 by pinfall. Meng, right back to form, 75 rating, in-ring performance, 46 from Rob Van Dam. Now, if you remember, when he got hurt and had to get the match called on the fly, which led to Stevie Ray's 1-week title reign as television champion, if you remember, the rule was that Meng could come back. When he came back, he could challenge for the television championship if he chose to. We don't know the result of that yet, because obviously this was just out of nowhere. So we don't know the result of whether he's going to challenge for the television championship again. If he's going to, Chris Jericho probably is about to completely crap in his pants, honestly, for the idea that he would have to take on Meng. But we will have to wait and see if Meng ends up deciding to challenge for the TV title, or if he wants to move on to other things. Of course, the stipulation at the time was that if he chose not to challenge for the TV title, he would get a number one contenders matchup for the United States Championship. So there's that as well. We have to see. Might have to see how that plays out. But nevertheless, Meng is back in WCW, and he defeats Rob Van Dam here tonight to a 78 rating. My God, even a squash match like this is getting a great rating tonight. I'm all for this. We're all cylinders are firing here tonight. After that, by the way, during that matchup, I should have announced it there, but before I click next, but during the matchup, it gets announced that next week on Nitro, it will be in tag team action, Chris Jericho and Lance Storm taking on Dean Malenko and Alex Wright. So that should be a very interesting tag team matchup heading into Fall Brawl. Nevertheless, we go and get a New World Order video, which only got an 82 rating. A little disappointing, but it is what it is. With Paul Levesque talking about how once again a ragtag group is trying to take on the cohesive force known as the New World Order. Bret Hart says that he hasn't had the pleasure to face Cactus Jack, but he's not worried about someone who specializes in garbage wrestling like Jack does. The New World Order is a cohesive unit that can do it all in the ring, and while those they are up against could be considered some of WCW's best, they just can't get it done against the NWO. Whether it's 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, it will not matter, because these four will not be the team that stops the New World Order, because no one can. So basic little promo, just kind of really calling out Cactus Jack there, saying he specializes in garbage wrestling, but kind of, reiterating the same thing we've heard week after week, which is that the New World Order is a cohesive unit that can't be stopped by a group of ragtag people. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Like I said, only gets an 82, which is kind of disappointing. Sean Waltman underperformed. He was rated on charisma, so I guess his charisma is low enough that it brought the rating down, but hey, I'll still take an 82 at this point. After that, we get quick promos airing back to back with the Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors both talking about the opportunity ahead of them, talking about how they are going up against legendary tag teams, aka each other, and how they look forward to the opportunity and forward to moving on to Fall Brawl to challenge for the World Tag Team titles, as these are the two teams fighting up next for that opportunity. So Harlem Heat will be taking on either the Rock and Roll Express or the Road Warriors for the WCW World Tag Team Championships at Fall Brawl. And the team they're going to be taking on is the Road Warriors, as the Road Warriors get the victory in 909 over the Rock and Roll Express when Animal gets Ricky Morton to submit, apparently. I don't know what submission Animal knows, but 62 rating. Not as great as I was hoping, but it is what it is. Nevertheless, that means the Road Warriors, of course, since coming into WCW, have said that they want a shot at the tag titles, and now they will be getting that shot against Harlem Heat at Fall Brawl, so that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. But the Road Warriors able to get the victory here tonight. Only 62. I'm going to guess partly because of storyline. Also because of some declining physical ability, but also, because of storyline. Because there wasn't, I didn't start a storyline yet for this one, because honestly, I had this match just be open, like the game let the game decide who wins, because I had plans either way. I honestly could not pick which team I wanted to have challenge Harlem Heat at Fall Brawl, so I just kind of let the game decide, because I was like, I got plans for either way. And it ends up being the Road Warriors, but probably a good thing too, because Rock and Roll Express are declining physically, so they might have to be slowly written off. Not completely written off. I'll still probably use them as a mid-card team, but I have to slowly start, put them down the ladder a little bit. Might not give themselves a number contenders match anytime soon, but we'll have to see. I mean, still 57-55 is not too bad, especially compared to some of the other tag teams in WCW right now. After that match, we get a brief promo from the Giant, which gets a 91 rating, where brief interview that is, where he is interviewed by Gene Okerlund and essentially just kind of announces an open challenge for anyone who dares to answer at Fall Brawl. No idea if anybody's going to actually answer the challenge, but he's going to be at Fall Brawl. He's going to be standing in the ring, and he wants to take on anyone and everyone who thinks they can step up to the monster known as the Giant. So we'll have to see where that leads to. But that still gets a 91, which is really good. So we'll have to see how that plays out. After that, Lex Luger comes out for his matchup. He's up next. He's competing next against one half of the Outlaws, William Wesson. So it's going to be Lex Luger versus William Wesson up next. But after Lex Luger comes out for his match, Sting makes his way out onto the stage with a chair and sits on the chair to watch the match. So he's going to watch the match from the stage. 69 rating, nice. That match itself gets 73. That's not too bad, honestly. Was hoping for a little bit better, but it's not too bad, honestly. A decent matchup. Lex Luger defeats William Wesson in 606 by pinfall with the military press slam. Military slam press, that is. I feel like that should probably be the other way around. Nevertheless, it gets 73. Luger with 51. Luger with a 71, that is. Wesson with a 51. Nice little matchup. Just getting Luger some momentum back after his last match he had in WCW resulted in him losing to Lord Steven Regal, which he wasn't a fan of. So figured get him in a victory on Nitro. Might help him out a little bit. Help him get some momentum back a little bit and all that. Then we go backstage where Lord Steven Regal has a promo with Gene Okerlund where he gets asked about Luger. He gets asked about Lex Luger and his issues with him recently, and Luger says that he's not done with Luger yet because Luger has been attacking him recently, but he does have the match advantage and he does have the victory over Luger, and that he's planning on moving on to other things. He gets asked about Earl Robert Eaton, and he says that Eaton is still recovering. He's still trying to figure out who attacked him, but for now he's focusing on his own career as well. Kind of gets asked a little bit about the state of WCW, which he doesn't really seem to have any interest in talking about. And then Okerlund does the whole thing where he listens to an earpiece as if he's getting told something live at the second. And it gets revealed that Lord Steven Regal will be going one-on-one with Vader at Fall Brawl. So Vader will be in action at Fall Brawl against Lord Steven Regal, which should be a very interesting matchup because, of course, Vader is the former World Tag Team Champion and current tag team partner of the current WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Bam Bam Bigelow. After the great matchup that Regal and Bigelow had for the title a few weeks ago, you have to imagine that getting a shot at Vader is a big deal for him. So we'll have to see how that plays out. After that, 99 rated segment backstage where Steve Austin and Eddie Guerrero are talking with each other when Cactus Jack walks into view. Austin says that he doesn't fully trust these men, but he fully believes that they can collectively open a can of whoop ass on the New World Order. Cactus Jack says that last week when he said all that stuff, he truly did mean it. He truly meant that Guerrero, Johnny B. Bad, and Steve Austin are the future of WCW in his mind, and how he doesn't want to watch that future be snuffed out at all by this group known as the New World Order. And then in the process of the three men talking with each other about the New World Order, it does get announced that next week on Nitro, on top of that big tag team matchup in the TV title picture, it will be one-on-one Paul Levesque versus Eddie Guerrero. So that should be a very good matchup featuring those two men going at it. 99 rated for this segment. Good stuff there. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are excited for Paul Levesque versus Eddie Guerrero next week. That should be a barn burner of a matchup. Might be main event worthy. Off to decide. I might have another match in mind for the main event. It'll be between that match and one other match that I have in mind. This match honestly might take the main event. If you haven't noticed, I've been trying to rotate storylines out in the main event picture as well, just because I hate the idea of having like the same thing main event, the same like this weekly show week after week after week. Like obviously in theory, the world's champion should be main eventing the TV show every week, but I like the idea of just of switching that stuff up, of rotating around from story to story in the main event, because there are, especially here in our WCW, there are at least a good few stories that are just big stories happening on a consistent basis. So it's a pretty good idea of just rotating them around, and at the same time we have workers who in these stories who can easily give us a great main event showing if we rotate them around. Like Paul Levesque and Eddie Guerrero, in my mind, honestly could be a really great main event, even if it is in September 1996, where Levesque isn't quite to his prime yet, and Eddie's still kind of just on the cusp of getting there to his prime too. But it'd still be a really great matchup. So I might consider that. It's between that one and one other one I have in mind. We'll see how that plays out. Nevertheless, it gets a 99 rating. After that, in a good matchup, Bam Bam Bigelow, in a non-title matchup, defeats Barry Windham in 709 by pinfall. Barry Windham getting a shot at the World's Heavyweight Champion, not for the title, but gets a one-on-one matchup against the champion, and only gets 75. Slightly disappointed by that, honestly. Benoit came in and attacked Windham towards the end of the matchup. I did put this as a wild brawl because that's kind of what my mindset was for it, so maybe that hurt the match a little bit, but with Windham having a 76 and Bigelow having a 79, for it to give it a 75 rating is kind of a little disappointing. Nevertheless, Bigelow defeats Windham by pinfall, hitting a powerbomb to get the victory. Or not the powerbomb, sorry. Power slam, that's what I meant to say. He hasn't, the one that he doesn't officially call it this yet, but it's the Greetings from Asbury Park, the big sit-out power slam that he did. After the match, Bam Bam Bigelow picks Barry Windham up, ready to do something else to him, but Dustin Rhodes runs down to make the save. Bigelow leaves the ring, or kind of gets chased out of the ring, I guess, really. Bigelow tries to get back in the ring, but Percy Pringle holds him off as Dustin checks on Barry Windham. As Bigelow's heading to the back, he finds himself kind of backing up the ramp, and when he turns around to head backstage, he finds himself face to face with his number one contender for the World's Heavyweight Championship, Randy Savage. No physical contact happens between the two, but Bigelow kind of smirks and raises the title in the air, as of course those two men are set to face off at Fall Brawl for the title, which will be a big time matchup. 91 rating for this segment. Really good stuff there. Randy Savage getting that big pop, even though he's a heel right now. He's getting that big pop from the crowd. After that, Roddy Piper is backstage in his office, and he announces a couple of huge matches for Fall Brawl. We're talking huge matches, as not only are we going to have a United States Championship matchup at Fall Brawl featuring not one challenger, not two challengers, but three challengers, as at Fall Brawl for the United States Heavyweight Championship, it will be Brian Pillman defending against Barry Windham, against his fellow horseman Chris Benoit, and against Dustin Rhodes. So that should be a huge fatal four-way matchup, as all four men will be, obviously Pillman wants to keep the title. You got to imagine Benoit maybe has some title plans of his own. Maybe wants to get that U.S. title himself, although he may be tasked to just make sure it stays with the Horsemen. Of course, Dustin Rhodes wants to be United States champion. We've seen that recently. And then Barry Windham, Windham maybe at this point, maybe he wants to get one last run with the title, instead of just looking out for his boy Dustin. So we'll have to see how that plays out. That's going to be huge. But on top of that, as if that match isn't big enough, it is the return of War Games at Fall Brawl. And as you could probably expect, it will not be the Horsemen involved in Fall Brawl. It will be the other four-man group involved in Fall Brawl, or in the other four-man group in WCW involved in War Games, as it is going to be Eddie Guerrero, Cactus Jack, Johnny B. Bad, and Steve Austin 4-on-4 against the New World Order inside War Games. So that's huge, as it will be a big-time matchup inside War Games. The NWO, a few months after debuting, will be inside War Games. We'll have to see how it plays out. Piper does say that there are going to be stipulations added for that, but that he has to wait until both sides sign off on those stipulations before he can announce them. So there's a chance that there might be some sort of stipulations with that. And obviously, I'm not talking about like match stipulations, because obviously War Games is the match stipulation. I'm talking about like stipulations as in like the winner might get something or whatever kind of thing. So we will have to see how that plays out. But two huge matches announced for Fall Brawl here. Fatal 4-way match for the United States Heavyweight Championship, and War Games. New World Order against Bad, Guerrero, Jack, and Austin. That's going to be huge in my opinion. Definitely going to be huge. After that big announcement, we go to the main event, which gets a 94 rating. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why I put this in the main event. I knew this match was going to be good. And about that had great wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Ric Flair defeats Rick Martel in 1408 by submission with a figure 4 leg lock after interference from Diamond Dallas Page. 94 rating for the match, 93 from Flair, 76 from Rick Martel. My God, Ric Flair with another great performance in the main event. And now that I'm thinking about it, this random match on Nitro might be one of the best matches this might actually be the best match we've had in this series so far. I think our previous best match was like a 91, so this actually might have taken the lead as the best match we've ever had in our WCW series, which would be huge, and also kind of crazy. Nevertheless, Ric Flair, in 14 minutes, getting the submission victory over Rick Martel. After the match, Ric Flair and Diamond Dallas Page attack Rick Martel until Ron Simmons comes out to make the save. Benoit and Pillman show up, though, and help out the Horsemen. Dustin Rhodes comes running down to try to help out, but the numbers are against them, and the Horsemen, with Page, stand tall to end Nitro. Of course, Barry Windham did not make it out there with Dustin Rhodes. We're guessing. We weren't told anything, but we're guessing it's because of whatever punishment he was still recovering from after that gruesome match with Bam Bam Bigelow earlier in the night. Nevertheless, the Horsemen standing tall to end Nitro. This gets an 83 rating for the segment. The show itself gets a 95. My God. Increasing popularity in 30 regions. My God. What a show here tonight. Our first show as part of Big Size, our first show in the year 2 of this series, and we get a 95 rating on top of what might be the best match we've ever had in the company as well. Huge stuff going on. Now, I did initially plan to do Nitro's 2.5 hours just as a celebration, like, hey, it's the 1-year anniversary of Nitro, so we're going to do a 2.5 hour show. But when I was booking the whole thing, I was like, you know what? I actually don't mind doing 2.5 hours because it let me flesh some stuff out a little bit. It let me have a couple more segments in there, which I know led to a longer match or a longer video here tonight. But it did let me flesh out a couple of things. I was able to get a couple of things on air that I wouldn't, or that I get a little bit more length to a couple of things that I wouldn't have normally done. So maybe we'll keep it 2.5 hours. Maybe we'll keep it 2 hours. I haven't decided yet. We'll kind of have to think about it. Nevertheless, our highest rated show of all time was that Nitro. A 95 rating, beating out the previous 91s that we got in June and March of this year. Best match ever was that match with Ric Flair defeating Rick Martel. So, as crazy as it sounds, as absolute crazy as it sounds, the best match in our series was Ric Flair and Rick Martel going at it in 1996. That's kind of crazy. Nevertheless, a big time main event for sure. That is why we put that in the main event. I knew it was going to deliver. I didn't know it was going to deliver that much, but I knew it was going to deliver. I knew it was going to give us at least like somewhere in this top 20. Because I knew Ric Flair could bring it, and I knew Rick Martel could do a pretty good job bringing up his side of things. So, big time matchup for sure. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. Fall Brawl getting all sorts of build for it, as of course, like I just said, we have the Fatal 4 matchup for the United States Championship. We have the return of War Games. We have Lex Luger versus Sting. We have the Giant that's going to have an open challenge. We have the Television Championship on the line with Chris Jericho defending against Alex Wright. We have Vader versus Lord Steven Regal. We have the tag team titles on the line with the Road Warriors challenging Harlem Heat. And of course, the main event of that evening, although maybe War Games will have a main event, but more than likely the world title main event, as the WCW World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line with Bam Bam Bigelow defending against Randy Savage. Other than maybe one other matchup, that's pretty much for sure going to be our card for Fall Brawl. Yeah, pretty excited about that. But that is a few weeks away. Up next, we will have another episode of Nitro next week. So keep an eye out for that one, and we'll catch you guys next time.